discussing the big sports stories of the weekend. This is Michelle and Junnie, with Michelle Knezovic and Junnie Riddle, presented by Superbook Sports on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Good Saturday morning, Nashville, and welcome into Michelle and Junnie. You can watch us streaming on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, live every day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook Sports. Nick Keyser filling in for Michelle. Again, Michelle is just all over the place. Like, she just travels and gets to go and do, like, one weekend it's Florida. She's down in New Orleans this weekend, New York, Chicago. Like, she's everywhere.
She is. She is on the go, as Big Joe used to be a long time ago. Well, Joe's still on the go, really. Joe can go MIA. But, yeah, she's been everywhere, man. But glad to be back in here with you again, Junnie. We got a lot to get into this morning. But, yeah, it feels good. Being in the saddle is a lot different than it is producing our midday shows, which are great shows. But I like being behind the mic, too. So let's dive right into it.
No, absolutely. So, I mean, again, a lot going on. Last night, a couple really good NBA games, I would say. The Celtics took down the Sixers in Game 3 in Philadelphia. A really heartfelt moment, though, in the beginning of that game, though. I don't know if you saw the video circulating with Joel Embiid raising the MVP trophy for Philadelphia, the fifth 76er to ever win the award. But what was really cool about that moment was when he, mentioned his son. And then his I guess he's like 2 or 3. He's really young, but, walking. And he walked out into the middle of the court, and his dad picked him up. And just to see that raw emotion on his face, I don't know, having a young son myself, it kind of was a tearjerker for me personally, so I thought it was an awesome moment. But the 76ers did not come out to play. Joel Embiid had 30 points, 13 rebounds, but, James Harden, Maxey, and those guys in company just did not come out to help him. And Tatum had a really big night. Al Horford had a really good night. Jaylen Brown as well. So the Celtics take a 2-1 series lead against the 76ers in Game 3 last night.
Yeah, well, I think when you have a heartfelt moment to start a playoff game, it can kind of hit differently for sure. And I was watching I was up late last night. I went to a graduation up in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Go Hilltoppers, by the way. I was watching the Denver Nuggets game last night, and what a horrible first half by them. I mean, I drove back during halftime, didn't catch the back half of the game, but they did not play good, and Joker was being dominated. Kevin Durant is a dog, dude. Kevin Durant is insane. He can drive the paint. He can make the play off the glass with ease, and he was so much fun to watch last night.
Yeah, no, he had a really good game. Devin Booker, also dropping 47 last night. 20 of 25 from the field. 80% on shooting last night.
So he actually has more 40-point games than Charles Barkley does now, fun fact.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, he's a combo guard. He can shoot from around the perimeter. And also, something about Devin Booker's game that I have noticed is his first step off the dribble is so quick.
Yes.
It is so quick. Like, he gets into the lane and draws fouls like crazy. But you go back to Jokic. I mean, looking at his stat line last night, I know he started off slow, but I didn't get to watch the first half. I kind of tuned into the second half when he kind of turned it up a bit. But 11 of 19 from the field, 30 points, 17 rebounds, and 17 assists. That, I mean, listen, for an off night starting slow, that's pretty impressive. And maybe seeing Joel Embiid raise the MVP trophy that Jokic has won the previous 2 years. I mean, it might have motivated him a little bit, especially in the second half there. I thought Denver was going to win this game last night without Chris Paul. I was 0 for 2 on my NBA picks from yesterday, so it kind of goes to show you about my expertise there. But good game there in the NBA. Tonight, we're going to be seeing the Knicks take on the Heat in Game 2 down in Miami. Warriors head to play the Lakers at the Staples Center, a.k.a. CryptoArena.com. Both of those series are tied 1-1, and we will be giving our picks for that a little bit later. But today is the day for the Kentucky Derby. And we got some groundbreaking news this morning about the betting favorite.
I don't think that this happens often either.
It doesn't. And typically when it does, it's like maybe like a week or a couple days in advance.
Mm-hmm.
And it's typically not the favorite. I mean, this guy was the overall, like he had 3-1 or 3-1 odds to win.
Mm-hmm.
And the horse Forte, again, like you said, the betting odds favorite to win the Kentucky Derby has been eliminated from contention today. They were I was reading up something about it because, again, this just came down about 30 minutes ago that he will not be racing. And I think it has something to do with health in the foot. I think it was wearing like a protective like brace or something, and they were hopeful that the horse would be good to go, but apparently not. And I guess this morning's like little trial run, it didn't really go well for Forte, so it has been eliminating. So now this kind of brings me to an interesting little story that I have this morning about the Kentucky Derby.
Please do share.
It is no shadow of a doubt that I am from Louisville, Kentucky, and the new favorite for today is Tapit Trice. Okay. And Tapit Trice, you know how all the horses kind of have like a little the color and the number. This is significant to me, Nick Keyser. I'm gonna tell you why.
Okay.
So when I was in kindergarten, there's a thing where in the newspaper you can kind of cut out all the horses with their numbers and the colors and their betting odds. And it's a formality in Kentucky. Like if you're at a Derby party, sometimes you put in a pool of money and you draw the hat. And if your horse wins, you get the money out. You get the money out of the hat. And so when I was a kid, I got a horse, and this was in the 2002 Derby, War Emblem, and it was number 5, and its color was green.
Okay.
Right? And it ended up winning. And I picked a horse. It was like my first Kentucky Derby that I remember as a little kid. Fast forward to 2017, I'm working at this fancy restaurant. It was going to be packed after the Derby. We were dead beforehand, and we did one of those $20 pulls with the hat, same little gig. And I drew the horse, and it was the favorite, and its color was green, and its number was 5, and it was always dreaming. I won $500 that day at work, not including my tip out for the day.
Wow.
For getting that horse. Now today, now that Forte is out of the mix in the Kentucky Derby, Tapit Trice's color is green and his number is 5, and he is now the favorite now that Forte is in. And I have put all my wagerings, and I'm getting my dad to do this. I just texted him to do it because he's in Kentucky, to go on Tapit Trice. So I think it is only destiny that Tapit Trice wins the Kentucky Derby today.
I just pulled up the Courier Journal. I have some friends that have gone through the Courier Journal. I had a friend of mine, Matt Stahl, quick shout out to him because he's covered the Derby, graduate of Western as well. That was his first gig out of school covering horse racing. And so this is one of his colleagues, Jason Frakes, I believe.
I know Jason Frakes. He does a lot of high school football.
Jason says that Tapit Trice has 9-2 odds, according to his article. So I don't know if that's changed here lately, but that's what we have right now.
I believe that's a little bit better because his odds were 5-1 yesterday, and so if it's 9-2, that's like technically like 4.5 to 1. So it just slightly ups it a bit.
And he threw it in there. He said with Forte's absence, Tapit Trice and Angel of Empire are currently co-favorites as well.
Okay.
That is who I liked. I was like, Angel of Empire. Name sounds cool. Let's go with it.
Listen, I don't believe that, all right? I just laid out history as to why Tapit Trice is going to win this race. I am putting everything on Tapit Trice today. You got to tune into the Kentucky Derby. I know it's a Louisville thing, but listen, the Kentucky Derby is just one of those underrated sporting events that it goes by so quickly that it doesn't get as much attention. It is a blast to go to if you haven't been. Highly recommend it. But last night, Nick Frazier's Milwaukee Admirals, the minor league
Nick Keezers.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nick Keezers.
Let's clarify real quick.
Sorry, Frazier. Nick Keezers.
When you have a lot of Nicks, it's
Milwaukee
hard.
Admirals beat what's the team?
The Manitoba Moose.
The Manitoba Moose last night to force a Game 5 in the AHL semifinals, and that will be played tonight, Nick?
Tonight at 6 p.m.
Okay, so a good win there. Was 5-3, high-scoring game. Zach Sanford scored a goal. Kiefer Sherwood continues to show out. He had 2 points last night, a goal and an assist. So they are still alive, and we're going to kind of get into that game a little bit later. But switching over to the NHL playoffs, Carolina is just laying it on the New Jersey Devils. What was it? It was a 5-1, 6-1 victory last night, 5-1 victory in Game 1.
Right.
Did you catch any of that game last night, Nick?
I didn't catch too much of it, but I will say when you look at how exciting the playoffs have been in the last couple of nights, we talked to Greg Wyshynski the other day on Chase and Michelle, and I think the biggest outlier to me is the fact that you've got a Panthers team over here on the side. They're up 2-0 on the Maple Leafs. And last night, if you look at the 6-1 win over the Devils for the Canes, it's like, man, why can't these young kids keep up with the Devils? And Kotaniemi, I think is how you say his name. I always have a hard time saying his name. He scored twice last night. He had an outstanding game. You also had Jordan Stahl score for them too, and he's one of those veteran guys that you just get that extra play on with here in the postseason. And I mean, the lone goal for the Devils came in the third period, and it was it was the third to last goal too. So they were already late to the party. Jordan Martinook and Stefan Noesen, they just put the power to it and took over that game at the very end, and they walk away going into Game 3 with a 2-0 series lead. I wouldn't be worried if you are a Devils fan, but you got to take advantage of this home ice. You have to.
Oh, most definitely. And you brought up the Panthers and the Toronto Maple Leafs game. I mean, how sickening is that? Toronto is super excited getting out of the first round, beating the defending Eastern Conference champions for the last 3 years.
The
Tampa
best
Bay
regular season team in NHL history.
Who was?
The Boston Bruins.
Oh no, I was talking about Toronto getting out.
Oh, okay.
And
They beat
Florida,
them. Yes.
Yeah, Florida goes off and beats Boston, which that was last week, and what a huge upset that has been. The last time that record was broken was the Tampa Bay Lightning a few years ago, and then they got swept by the Blue Jackets. So we're seeing a history of teams breaking that record, not looking good, and now Florida has taken a 2-0 lead, heading back down to Fort Lauderdale over the Toronto Maple Leafs after they were so excited getting out of the first round. And they don't even have to play Boston, but now down 2-0. So interesting things going on in the AHL playoffs, NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs. We're going to be making some picks towards the tail end of the show. But coming up next, we are going to dive into the big conversation that's been going on all week long, and that has to do with Ryan Tannehill, Will Levis, the NFL draft, and what the Tennessee Titans are going to do. Ryan Tannehill spoke to the media this past week, and we are going to dive into that and if Ryan Tannehill is going to be the starter this upcoming season. You're listening to Michelle and Junnie here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Want to jump into the mind of a 15-year NFL vet? Well, here's your chance.
D-Mace.
It's Ask D-Mace.
Come on, bring them on.
Ask questions on football and life to Derek Mason every Friday at 12:30 on Ask D-Mace.
Don't mess with her. The skilled guy. Money reigns supreme.
On Caroline, Willie, and
D-Mace.
on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, what's up? It's Chase McCabe for Superbook Sports. Baseball is back, and the push for the postseason is on for hockey and hoops. Make it all count this spring with Superbook Sports. Superbook Sports is the best wagering app around with a direct line to experienced bookmakers behind the counter in Las Vegas. Plus, you can get a $250 bonus when you sign up, deposit, and wager all in the same day. Don't let spring pass you by without winning money with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Spring. It's a season full of new life and new opportunities to celebrate. Hi. It's Alex Johnson from the Diamond Cellar. From weddings and anniversaries to new babies and graduations, plus everything in between, there's no better place to discover the perfect gift for every occasion than the Diamond Cellar. As a true jeweler, we not only curate the finest selection of luxury jewelry from world-class designers, but we can also create something truly one-of-a-kind just for you. Visit the Diamond Cellar in Green Hills or online at diamondcellar.com.
Music City will be rocking June 23rd through the 25th with a different sound, the sound of NASCAR.
Start your engine!
The Ally 400 is back at Nashville Superspeedway, and this year, it's a night race. NASCAR in Nashville. It's guitars and fast cars under the lights. Visit NashvilleSuperspeedway.com to get your tickets for the triple header weekend, including the Ally 400, Tennessee Lottery 250, and the Rackley Roofing 200 today.
You don't have just an ordinary mom in your life. She's the best. Her work never stops. Her sacrifices are many. Her love is unfailing. This Mother's Day, Genesis Diamonds invites you to join us in celebrating and appreciating the mothers in our lives. Stop in and let one of our trusted advisors help you find a special, meaningful gift. Layering necklaces, stackable rings, eternity bands, pearls, elegant diamond pendants, and of course, stunning diamond earrings. Great Mother's Day ideas for any budget. There's no doubt we love Mom, but sometimes a little extra appreciation goes a long way as a thank you for helping us through challenges, making sacrifices, and always putting the family first. So whether it's her first Mother's Day or her 60th, Mom deserves a gift that's anything but ordinary. And at Genesis, that's our specialty. Exquisite rings, earrings, bands, bracelets, heirloom pieces. Timeless gifts of jewelry that she can enjoy and cherish for decades to come, and always be reminded of how special she is to the family. Genesis Diamonds, online at genesisdiamonds.net.
Anyone want to tell me what happened?
Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Michelle and Junie podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to thegamenashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
This is Michelle and Junie.
Well, thank you so much.
Presented by Superbook Sports on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
To that point, Paul, do you think there is anything that Ryan Tannehill could do to be a Tennessee Titan for, say, the next couple of years?
Probably not. Unless he transitioned into a backup role at a much, much lower cost, and I think those things are unlikely. There's going to be a team, provided that Ryan Tannehill has a healthy, non-disastrous season, even without extremes on that will find him an attractive guy that could give another team 2 years starting next year to put them in a good position to hold them over, to help them get to be a healthier franchise, and to get them to a better place. As he's 36, 37, conceivably, I would think in a year. And I know a lot of people still think like there's a trade in the future, or maybe when somebody gets hurt during training camp. I just don't think there's enough emphasis on the $24 million base salary that somebody would have to inherit. So if you traded for Ryan Tannehill now, nobody has $24 million in cap money. Nobody's going to want to pay him $24 million this year. It would have to come with a renegotiation that would come with an extension, I think, and that's a pretty substantial commitment for teams that mostly have their ducks in a row at quarterback at this stage.
That was Paul Koharski on Chase and Michelle this past Thursday, talking about Ryan Tannehill and the potential of him being a Tennessee Titan for years to come after this year. Wasn't so positive about Tannehill being the future of the Tennessee Titans post this year. We know that his contract is going to be up after this season, and he will also be 35 years old. So this kind of poses the question, and we've been talking about this a lot because obviously the conversation is going to be around the quarterback position when the Titans selected Will Levis, 33 overall in the beginning of the second round. So, Nick, I want your reaction to Paul and what you think of Ryan Tannehill as a quarterback going forward for this team, whether it's this year, next year, years to come. What do you think the Tennessee Titans ultimately plan on doing with Ryan Tannehill?
Well, first and foremost, I think Paul's thoughts are very warranted for the situation that the Titans are in currently. When you look at the type of player that he's been for the Titans, I would say he's been a fairly consistent player. He's been someone that when he has been faced with adversity, I think he's gotten through it as best as he possibly can. I mean, look at how banged up they've been in the 4 seasons that he's been here. And I just was taking a look at some of his numbers too, Junnie, and I don't think this means too much to me yet, but he did just have his worst performance with the Titans in one season, going for 2,000 yards. So I think when you look at the correct number behind it in 2000, I'm just saying rough on that, but he threw for 2,536 yards this year, which was the worst output by him since he joined the Two-Tone Blue. But he also threw 6 picks. I thought that he took care of the ball this year for the most part. He had 13 touchdowns. And so when I think about what he's done, the work that he has compiled over the few years that he's been here and been a consistent starter, there really isn't anything else that he could do besides have the best season of his life this year. I was listening to Talking with TD this morning, and I have to give him a shout out. TD's the best at what he does, man. And, he was talking about that too with Chris Sanders. Is Ryan Tannehill going to have the best year? He very well could. I know myself. I don't know Ryan Tannehill, but if it was me, I would have not a liar. I would have a fire lit under my butt about what is going on right now. You have 2 quarterbacks in your quarterback room. Last year was no competition with Logan Woodside there, and Willis is right behind him. This year you've got a guy that was proven in the SEC play for the most part. We all know what his play looked like. I get it. People can say whatever they want about him this past season. Will Levis was an established quarterback this past season. I think it's really going to challenge Ryan to be at his best. I would love to see the 2020 Ryan Tannehill this year. I don't know if we're going to get that necessarily, Junnie, but this has to be the best year for him. But there isn't anything that he can do to slow down this transition.
I mean, there are so many things that are going to happen for him to have that kind of season. I mean, I look at Ryan Tannehill in his career entirely. He's only thrown for 4,000 yards, which I think in this day and age of NFL football is kind of like the mile marker between, good and elite. If you're consistently throwing for 4,000 yards a year and you're not throwing for like a ton of picks, just being like, an air raid passer or a gunslinger, then I think that kind of is telling. And so he doesn't really have 4,000-yard seasons under his belt. His last one was in 2015 when he was still with the Dolphins. And then he's never thrown for more than 25 touchdowns in a season outside of the 2020 year.
Yeah, he was close in 2015, but
he's gotten to 24. Which is solid.
Right.
Which is solid. But, again, I feel like 25 and above is a mile marker for, that's a really good season.
Right.
And it's just like Ryan Tannehill is that quarterback that's going to do enough to be like, well, he's doing a solid job. Like, he's doing good enough.
Right.
But how long is good enough, good enough
right.
for this organization?
Right.
And I look at this and I'm just like, we've kind of seen Ryan Tannehill run his course. And when the team was built to be in a contention spot in 19 and 20, when Taylor Lewan was playing at an all-pro level and you had Roger Saffold and Nate Davis and Ben Jones, and the offensive line was top 5 in the league. You had Corey Davis, Jonnu Smith, A.J. Brown, Derrick Henry's running for 2,000 yards, 1,800 yards, and everything was in place for him to be successful. But when things aren't in place like they are right now, Treylon Burks is your number 1 receiver, couldn't stay on the field, didn't come to camp conditioned.
Mm-hmm.
Your number 1 option and what everybody's hopeful for this year is that Chigakonkwo, the tight end, in his second year is going to take a big step, is supposed to be one of your top receivers this year. Your offensive line is patchwork at best. A lot of backups were signed off their potential to see if they could make it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not seeing the writing on the wall for Ryan Tannehill to come out and take a big step. And on top of that, his age and his injury history with last year with the ankle and all of his injuries that he had in Miami that really kind of soured, his tenure there, which ended up, leading him to get traded to the Titans. I'm just seeing the writing on the wall. Like, quarterbacks don't really make it past the age of 35, 36 years old unless you're a Peyton Manning, a Tom Brady, a Drew Brees, a Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, it's very far in between, obviously, to have guys step up and be that good. So I think we're answering our own question here, right? Because if we're talking about a guy he is what he is, and if the Titans are okay with that, that's fine. But I want to hear what our fans think in this market. And I've heard from them a lot this week, whether it's on the text line or someone's calling in. And I got one call this week talking about the mediocrity of Ryan Tannehill. And I understand that point of view. I completely do. And also the games that he has started this year, or not this year, but started overall, the record that he has when starting in games in his career is 78-65, that's pretty decent, but it's not earth-shattering whatsoever. Now with the Titans, he's got a record of 36-19, which is, I think that's very, I don't want to say it is respectable, but it's not something lately that you would think, really? He's won 36 games with the Titans? Really? And it doesn't feel like it at times because we've seen how he plays. And I think that this team too, Junnie, and I hope that he has become a much different person in his professional life after that Bengals loss, because this team is still reliving those days. I think that they need to move away from that, but they really can't until they get past that wild card round. And is it going to be with Ryan Tannehill? That's the biggest question for me going into the season. Can they have him be a leader and have his best year? That's going to be the biggest storyline for me watching that team this year.
615-737-1025. That is our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Weigh in on your opinion about Ryan Tannehill's future with this franchise. Nick and I have already said that after this season, we think that his tenure with the Titans is over. But coming up next, we want to get into this year's QB controversy. Will Levis compete for the starting job this year? Nick and I are going to get into that next. But before we go, tune into the Nashville Sounds baseball today at 2:07 on 94.9 The Fan. The Sounds take on the St. Paul Saints, AAA affiliate of the Minnesota Twins. Sounds baseball on 94.9 The Fan is presented by 312 Pizza, Farm Bureau Health Plans, and Family Leisure. You are listening to the Michelle and Junnie Show here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
All the big plays.
Tannehill, entering right up the middle. Touchdown, Tennessee.
All the big stories.
The Titans' window to contend is however long Derrick Henry stays Derrick Henry.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Gets it back and scores.
Our execution was good.
They have not found their groove.
It's always great to win in this league. It's tough to win.
The Game and the Game Nashville app.
For more than a century, AM radio has evolved to meet the needs of our community. In their car, at home, or on the job, more than 80 million listeners depend on AM radio each month. AM radio is also the backbone of the emergency alert system, which keeps us safe in dangerous times. It's reliable, free, and public safety depends on it. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Hey, it's Jared from my friends at Hiller. Hiller's Heat Wave Heroes are keeping you from getting burned this summer. If you know your home needs an air conditioning replacement, do not wait until it breaks down. You do not want to be sweating in your home. This month, get a free UV light and free electronic air cleaner when you buy select new HVAC systems. Or get a whole home water filtration for just $59 a month. Or get a new whole home generator for just $139 a month. Call Hiller's Heat Wave Heroes to save the day. Visit happyhiller.com to book.
Family Leisure invites you to vacation at home with a new spa, pool, patio furniture, or wood play gym this summer.
I really want a spa.
40 spas on display from Artesian, Best Spas, and American Select.
Prices starting as low as $29.99.
Family Leisure has over 100 sets of patio furniture with free delivery.
That sounds good to me, too.
We should really look at the wood play gyms for the kids. Family Leisure has the Diamond Point swing set on sale at only $24.99 installed. Family Leisure's vacation at home sale in Franklin and Antioch.
Buffalo Bill's Center of the West in Cody, Wyoming welcomes you as you enter Yellowstone Park's East Entrance. 5 museums in one and the greatest firearms museum anywhere. Welcome to the West. Buffalo Bill's Center of the West, Cody, Wyoming.
Attention buckaroos, it's time for the Franklin Rodeo. So saddle up and hold on to your lasso. It's 3 days of bull riding, calf roping, western wear, funny clowns, and some of the most talented horses you've ever seen. Join the Stampede from May 18th to May 20th. The Franklin Rodeo is held at the Williamson County Ag Expo Park and is brought to you by Ram Rodeo, Franklin Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Williamson Health, Event 1 FX, and Wesley Mortgage. Tickets on sale now at franklinrodeo.com. It's a buckin' good time.
The offseason is in full swing, but there's no slowing down ESPN's Teron Davenport.
The flow of information.
He talks the talk.
Spears gives you that guy that can still hit the home run.
And walks the walk.
As a run blocker, he's going to murder a linebacker at the second level.
On Everything Titans, TD is on Mondays at 1, Thursdays at 3, Friday mornings at 8, and anytime on the Talkin' with TD podcast. TD is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. This is Michelle and Junie.
Really? That's fantastic.
Presented by Superbook Sports on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
From day one, there is going to be a quarterback controversy, but I think in the middle of the season, I hate to say this, that Will Levis is probably going to be your starter. The fans, I think that a lot of people really don't want Tannehill to be the quarterback. They want to get away from Tannehill and start a new generation of trying to have a new quarterback. And as sad as it is, I think that's just the way the NFL is.
That was Chris Sanders on his weekly hit with Stillman and company talking about the QB controversy. And Chris is a believer that Will Levis this season will get some playing time. Wow. Listen, Chris in the past has been a huge defender of Ryan Tannehill. So to hear him say that really resonated with a lot of people that tuned into our station because he defended Tannehill after that 3-interception game against the Cincinnati Bengals. And so it was kind of baffling to me and kind of eye-opening to me that he would say that. And as a former player, I take that as he knows that the Titans drafting Will Levis that early in the second round, trading up to get him means something. And with the situation that they're in and where they're at with Ryan Tannehill, he is pretty confident that Will Levis is going to get an opportunity to play this year.
Yeah, I think so. And it's crazy Uncle Chris. I love him to death. I think this is something, as a former player, it's easier for him to have that perspective of, this is a popular topic that I can stir up. I think that's something that Derek, really highlighted too during the week was this kid can absolutely come in and do something about it. He's coming into a fresh team, fresh start for him. He's coming in and he's going to be able to try to push Tannehill to his next level where he probably already was. And we talked about that last segment where he's had some good seasons, and we need to see more of that this year. It needs to be his best season. You talked a lot about how he needs to get back to that 4,000-yard season to be a consistent quarterback. So I think this year, if Tannehill looks the same as even if he did last year, and he's got some bad turnovers and whatnot, if he has a bad game, it would not surprise me if Will Levis finishes a lot of these games this year. If stuff hits the fan and it does not go well for him in certain situations, I would love to see Will Levis. And I think this kid could be something good. I worked the draft that night that he got picked, and I felt okay about it, but I didn't feel great because there's a lot of uncertainties with him because we had a lot of questions about him out of college. And so I think for me, when Vrabel talks about taking care of the football, and we've played clips about it, Vrabel saying, let's take care of this football. Let's not turn the ball over. Typical Vrabel stuff. The Vrabelese, as Caroline likes to throw out there, trying to read into what he says.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you take care of the football, I think Vrabel is going to give him a chance. When he proves to this team at camp and through 2-minute drills, because the Titans were really good at 2-minute drills this year, I will say. But if Will Levis can prove his worth, I'd like to see him start a few games, Judy. I don't know about you.
I have been on the Will Levis bandwagon for a while. I am from Kentucky. I am a Louisville fan. So naturally, I have distaste for the University of Kentucky in all of its sports. I have watched Will Levis a lot more than a lot of Titans fans and people down here in Tennessee have. And what I can tell you is that the narrative around him, I feel like, is a bit unfair. He does have some proneness to turnovers. He limited that a bit this past year.
He tried.
I will say his interception numbers did go down, but the upside in the plays that he did make in 2021 are astounding. And this year with the injury, losing a bunch of his wide receivers, losing 3 starting offensive linemen to the NFL, losing your offensive coordinator to the NFL, everything was turned over for him. And I think that when you had a season like that in 2021, it added a lot of pressure. He sat out against South Carolina due to injury, and Matt Jones from Kentucky Sports Radio came on with Jared Stillman the other day, which is an excellent interview. I think it was on Wednesday that they chatted. And he basically said that, the only reason that Will Levis played in that Tennessee game was because he knew that if he didn't play, his guys were going to get blown out by 50+. And he didn't want to see that. And I think that's a testament to who he is and who he is as a leader. And he took a huge fall for that. And I think that the narrative surrounding him with this fan base, because there's a lot of Vols fans who are Titans fans, and I just feel like they look at that one game and they don't look at anything of the narrative around him and how he tried to go out there and fight for his guys. And I think that's something really important. But something I saw on Twitter yesterday that I wanted to get into was, Will Levis posted a video and it said "home" with an exclamation point.
Here we go.
And it has a Preds jersey with his last name on it, and I think it's hinting at what number he possibly is going to be wearing, and that was the number 8. Because
what did he wear in college? I forgot.
He wore 7.
Okay,
and so that's Malik Willis's number.
Right.
And so with the 8, that's one of the quarterback eligible numbers that's available. And so I feel like that's just not a coincidence, and also that's Cody Glass's number, so I don't think, without talking to somebody, they're just going to give him the number 8.
Right.
But, he got a slew of things from Nashville SC, a Preds ball cap with a TriStar logo on it, some chocolate, a bunch of different stuff here from Nashville locally. But the responses to this man's post, just simply saying, "Hey, I'm in Nashville, I'm getting settled in, thank you for the care package," are astounding to me. This one guy, and I'm not going to name any names, but most of us don't want you here. Go throw your 3 picks a game so we can get rid of you sooner than later. That's like the number one comment under his post. Another one. I wish you the best, but 9 out of 10 Titans fans don't want you in Nashville. Jake Locker 2.0.
Okay.
These guys are going crazy in here. And I'm going to go on a bit of a rant right now, because this really frustrates me.
It grinds your gears.
It grinds my gears because all the experts had this guy projected as a first-round pick, and I get it, he didn't make it. Okay, the Titans saw Peter Skoronski, and I'm a believer of building the line of scrimmage first. And with Ryan Tannehill here, the quarterback position is not a necessity right here and right now. It's a perk to have him come in and Senator Tannehill, but it wasn't a necessity. The offensive line was a bigger issue, and you get a guy like Skoronski, you have to take it. But when I look at Will Levis, he's a projected first-round pick, and because the Titans didn't select him at 11, all the quarterback-needy teams were out of the way the rest of the draft for the most part. And he slid. He slid out of the first round, okay? But that doesn't mean he's still not a first-round caliber quarterback. He's got the arm. He's got the intelligence. His S2 score was rated one of the highest ever taken. Okay? He's got the athleticism. He's got the intelligence. Everybody that I've spoken to or heard from out of Kentucky say that this guy is legitimately really, really smart in the classroom.
That's what Matt Jones is saying.
And that's a telltale sign for quarterbacks. And so you have this guy that lost his top 3 receivers playing with all true freshman receivers. Lost 3 starting offensive linemen to the NFL and got replaced with scrubs. I'm just going to flat out say his protection was terrible.
Basically.
And his offensive coordinator, who got fired after 1 year because of awful play calling and awful situational adjustments, and losing his OC to the NFL. And on top of that, this guy who had first-round pedigree going into the 2022 season gets his shoulder banged up, has turf toe, and is getting shot up just to go out there, game in and game out. And what frustrates me is that kind of gets me hyped up. If I know that a guy is putting his body on the line, his future on the line, for what? He was still going to get drafted high even if he didn't play in 2022. Look at Jackson Smith and Jigba. He was still the number 1 wide receiver to go off the board this year. He didn't even play this past season. This guy's getting shot up, knowing he has no line, knowing he has no receivers, and doesn't trust the offensive coordinator that came in, and still went out there to give his guys a chance. Matt Jones in that interview said Kentucky's a 4-win team if Will Levis sits out the rest of that year.
I believe it.
And to sit here and get all this criticism when he doesn't have a choice on where he gets drafted. He has no choice. And yet all these Tennessee Titans fans that are likely Vols fans that just watched that night game in Knoxville this past year, and they have that bad rep of him, the fact that you don't give this guy a chance when he's a leader, he's smart, he's got the intangibles. Yeah, he needs to get coached out of committing turnovers, but it doesn't get you hyped up that he put his body on the line for basically nothing and maybe wrecked his draft stock a little bit just to go out there and get wins for his team. If that doesn't light a fire under you, I don't know what will.
Yeah, and especially as a fan, you want someone to come in and you want him to lead your team and have the capability to do so. You want a captain, right? I think that's what you're really saying here. You want a captain. You want someone that's going to lay it out every single night. And it doesn't matter what sport you play, you want someone to take care of your team. And I know that coming up next, Junnie, you want to get into something else that the Titans really need as well. They need someone to catch these passes. And for Will Levis, he needs some good weapons that are going to complement that type of game long term. So I'm curious to hear what your list is. Curious to see who stands out to you. So
absolutely. We're gonna get into wide receivers for the Titans. It just bothers me, the narrative about this kid, and especially when Tannehill sat out with the ankle, which you can play through. You want a guy with toughness that's going to be there for you day in and day out. And I think that guy could be Will Levis. And I think Mike Vrabel is the perfect coach to enhance the maturation process for Will and how he can be a starter-level quarterback in this game. So, like Nick said, coming up next, I did a deep dive on wide receiver possibilities that the Titans could either go out and trade for, potential guys that could get cut off their roster. This team needs pass catchers. We are going to get into this next. You are listening to Michelle and Junnie here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
They talk sports.
The Predators get the 2 points, which is obviously what they needed.
They're not making big moves that are jaw-dropping signings in free agency.
They talk life.
Well, I almost just fell down the stairs, so there's that.
My backpack was so heavy, the seatbelt alarm was going off the entire trip.
But most of all, they have a good time.
Here or there.
Yeah.
Chase and Michelle, weekday mornings at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
NBA playoffs are rocking, folks, and you can turn crossovers into cash with FanDuel. Joe Rexford here, inviting you to visit FanDuel.com/Joe102 right now. Place a $5 bet. You'll get an instant $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. FanDuel is the best sportsbook in America, number one sportsbook in America, because it has great promotions every day. It's safe and secure. You got bets, all kinds of different things you can do. You get paid instantly, easy to use, big thing for me. No better place to bet all the playoff action than America's #1 sportsbook. I would go right now. I think the Suns at home this week, good bet. I think they're going to play a lot better there against the Nuggets in what should be a great series. Go to FanDuel.com/Joe102. Sign up, get $150 in bonus bets when you bet your first $5. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. And you must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 800-889-9789.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, Willie Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. And a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
You don't have just an ordinary mom in your life. She's the best. Her work never stops. Her sacrifices are many. Her love is unfailing. This Mother's Day, Genesis Diamonds invites you to join us in celebrating and appreciating the mothers in our lives. Stop in and let one of our trusted advisors help you find a special, meaningful gift. Layering necklaces, stackable rings, eternity bands, pearls, elegant diamond pendants, and of course, stunning diamond earrings. Great Mother's Day ideas for any budget. There's no doubt we love Mom, but sometimes a little extra appreciation goes a long way as a thank you for helping us through challenges, making sacrifices, and always putting the family first. So whether it's her first Mother's Day or her 60th, Mom deserves a gift that's anything but ordinary. And at Genesis, that's our specialty. Exquisite rings, earrings, bands, bracelets, heirloom pieces. Timeless gifts of jewelry that she can enjoy and cherish for decades to come, and always be reminded of how special she is to the family. Genesis Diamonds, online at genesisdiamonds.net.
The postseason is here. Whether it's the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs or the NBA, we have you covered on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. This is Michelle and Junnie.
Well, thank you so much.
Presented by Superbook Sports on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Join 102.5 The Game for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament presented by Gary Force Acura, benefiting Souls for Souls on June 7th at the Hermitage Golf Course. Put your team together and come out and play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebs to support a great cause and have loads of fun. Plus, you'll have the chance to win some awesome prizes. Sign up and play, sponsor, or donate at thegamenashville.com/golf. That is a awesome event that we did last year out there at the Hermitage Golf Course. A big day of fun, and also Souls for Souls, getting shoes for underprivileged kids that don't get new shoes to start the school year. I mean, what better cause to do for that, to make some of those kids feel special as they go back to school in the fall. So with that being said, Nick, we were talking about Ryan Tannehill, the Will Levis QB controversy going into the year. But I would say one of the more pressing issues for this Tennessee Titans team is what they're going to do with the wide receiver position. And I texted you last night, and I was like, listen, I want to do a segment on this. I know there's been a few names that have been tossed out there that have been good for the Titans, and I did a deep dive on some guys that maybe people aren't really looking at that could be potential suitors for the Titans this upcoming season.
Well, you've got quite a few options. So I think that's something to look forward to. But I think what the Titans really need, for me personally, I mean, look, they just need some speed guys like Vrabel said. I think that's the most important thing. But I know when you've been looking at this class, there's been some guys that have stood out. They got this guy, what's his name, Chris Moore? Is that who came out of Houston that the Titans just signed?
Yes.
Okay, so we got Chris Moore in. He's just a veteran guy.
Not a big fan.
I mean,
he doesn't get the gears going for me.
So why would you sign him? Just really quick, why would you sign a guy like that?
Just depth. I mean, look. You look at the roster right now. Nick Westbrook-Akina is the wide receiver number 2.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just, it's kind of pitiful. I mean, and Frazier, you can hop in on this as well. Do you is there any other wide receiving core in the entire NFL that is as bad depth-wise as the Tennessee Titans are right now?
I mean, the only one that kind of comes to mind would probably be Carolina, maybe. After DJ Moore went to Chicago. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, they did just draft that kid out of Ole Miss. I think I think he's going to be really good. I think he's one of those sleeper, physical A.J. Brown types. Ole Miss just always kind of comes out with some second-round, third-round receivers that always
But besides
seem
that,
to pan
though,
out.
Who else is on that Carolina wide receiver depth chart? You know what I mean? Exactly.
Can't really think of it.
I think
right
Laviska Shenault might be on there, but that's not really a purposeful wide receiver.
No.
So
I will say this, though. I am intrigued with what Kyle Phillips could potentially do. I was really looking forward to him last year and seeing what he could do with this team in the slot position. If he can, get a little size on him. I saw a picture that Mason Kinsey posted with him as everybody was kind of coming back to the facility this past week.
Mm-hmm.
He looked a little bit bigger to me, so hopefully he can be more durable this season and he can be that slot receiver that the Titans are looking for. But I got a list. Some of these are names that a lot of people have already heard of, and I'm going to start with those. Let's start with Corey Davis, former Tennessee Titans wide receiver. He was drafted in the first round in 2017 by the Titans. That was seen as a huge reach by them, but yet he was still putting up solid wide receiver 2 numbers. This year by the Jets can save $10.5 million if they cut him. Now, they have come out and said that they're not going to. But how many times have we seen teams and organizations say they're not going to cut somebody or not going to trade somebody, and then they end up doing it?
Right.
I think a lot of people here in Tennessee are very familiar with that sentiment. So I still would put Corey Davis as an option, but I wouldn't say it's likely because last year, he had some injuries, missed a handful of games again, only 536 yards and 2 touchdowns. And also, is the relationship a bit soured with Corey Davis? I think it is. So it's out there. I still think he's going to get cut no matter what Robert Saleh and the guys up in New York say. I think he's going to be on the market eventually this offseason, so it's something to look out with. And if they can kind of repair that relationship, maybe. We'll see.
There's a chance.
Another one that a lot of people have been talking about that I really, really, really like, and I think that this guy will be available come training camp. The Cincinnati Bengals want to keep T. Higgins around. They're obviously going to keep Jamar Chase, but he's not going to get an extension likely till next offseason. So they're going to pay Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and also their franchise guy, Joe Burrow. Okay? So that's a lot of money going into Cincinnati, and they're already paying a bunch of dudes. They're not in the best cap situation, and they're going to be in a worse one when they do start to pay those 3 guys. So who does that leave out? That leaves out Tyler Boyd, their wide receiver out of Pittsburgh. This guy is really good, and I think for a lot of teams he could be a solid number 2. He had his worst receiving stats last year in like 5 years. And those stats were 762 yards and 5 touchdowns. Would the Tennessee Titans take that today? Yes, they would.
Yeah.
And the Cincinnati Bengals would save $9 million in cap space by releasing him. So I definitely see Tyler Boyd as a play that the Titans could make.
I kind of like that. Cuts. He would be a really good guy. Now, here's the one question I have about him. Would he really be capable to be a wide receiver 1 in the Titans system if he got given the chance?
I don't think they want him to be wide receiver. I think they want to see if Treylon Burks can be that guy.
And I think fans are asking themselves, Junnie, who can be the wide receiver 1 at some point. Now, we could go another year or two without having a esteemed number 1 wide receiver because they've made that work in years past. I mean, look at years even when Derek Mason and Chris Sanders played. And Chris even highlighted this morning that, we didn't really have anyone in the draft. He's like, I got called out on national TV for them saying that the Titans didn't have anybody in their wide receiver core, and my name was mentioned. And he's like, I took offense to that. And then the Titans went and got Kevin Dyson. And so they made some noise that year after look, they hear everything. So when you have stuff like that, look, that's just going to light a fire under you, and you have to make the most of it. And hopefully whoever is relied on at wide receiver this year feels that way.
So I got 3 more, and these 3 are names that I have not heard a lot of people talk about.
Okay.
So on the lower end, I think that since this team drafted a receiver that I think that they're going to be really high on when they bring him in, and that's the Cleveland Browns bringing in Cedric Tillman from the University of Tennessee. I think Cedric Tillman dropped because of his injuries this past year, but I think he's definitely going to be a focal point in the Browns offense. So I think that kind of leaves out Donovan Peoples-Jones in Cleveland. And he has a really low cap hit, about a little over $2 million. His dead cap is like $42,000. That's it. That's his dead cap is $42,000. So I think they might potentially look to trade him. I think that if you gave a good offer for him, and this is a guy that's really kind of under the radar. I mean, last year he had 839 yards and 3 TDs. Like that's good. It's better statistically than Tyler Boyd. And he's also really young. He's 6'2". He's got burners. He's got speed, and he can create a lot of separation. That's something that we didn't see from the Tennessee Titans last year. So I think a guy, especially if Cedric Tillman comes in and impresses and stays healthy, a guy that could be up for grabs is Donovan Peoples-Jones from the Cleveland Browns. And I haven't heard a lot of people talk about that. But another player that has had some rumors and speculation about whether or not he's going to be staying with his team is Hunter Renfrow with the Las Vegas Raiders. Okay, so Hunter Renfrow, in my opinion, is one of the better pure slot receivers in the entire league. Last year in 2021, he had an awesome year, posting over 1,000 yards. And let's see how many he had over 1,000 yards and 9 TDs in 2021. And he really stepped up for that Raiders team when they lost Henry Ruggs. And we obviously know, Henry Ruggs got into the DUI fatality situation. And so he stepped up and became that main wide receiver for the Raiders and really led them to the playoffs and was a big reason as to why they made that. And this past year, he had an off year. And I think everybody on the Raiders really did.
Right.
Devontae Adams comes in, and he's obviously the new wide receiver 1, and Derek Carr just has a terrible year, which ends up being his final year with the team. And I think that had a lot to do with Hunter Renfrow having a down year. He only had 330 yards in 2022. But again, if they're trying to shop him, this guy, he's 27 years old. He's got a lot of upside. He's easily can create separation because he's one of the better route runners in the entire league. So I think that is somebody under the radar to look for. And my last one, and this one is such a long shot, but Deontay Johnson for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He got an extension last offseason for a 2-year deal, and it was kind of like a prove-it deal. And last year his stats went down. In 2021 with Big Ben, he had almost 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns. Last year, he only had 882 yards in 0 touchdowns with the rookie quarterback in Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky. So Deontay Johnson leads the NFL in separation yards as a route runner. He is crisp. He gets open, but you have to put the ball on the money in order for him to be effective. And he had that chemistry with Big Ben. And him being a free agent this offseason, and you know how well the Pittsburgh Steelers draft wide receivers, throwing out a second-round pick and trading for a guy like this could actually be really, really beneficial because he has a ton of upside, and he's just trying to find the right fit. And I don't know if that necessarily is in Pittsburgh the way that they, draft and develop wide receivers.
Yeah, and it's about who you have available too. And before we break really quick, I want to read a text from our text line driven by WillisCountyHyundai.com. Andrew texted it and said, "Yeah, let's get a rookie out there with 0 receivers and a new O-line. Calm down, y'all. Look, it doesn't matter if Will Levis can get the reps in there, if he can make something happen on the field, I would be completely fine with it. Protection does matter. Wide receivers matter. But if Will Levis can get in there and do something because he knows the system, and don't forget, he can move with his feet too.
Oh, yeah.
So
look at his 2021 film and see how this guy can move around.
Right.
He is mobile, and he is not afraid to put his shoulder down and take a hit. But with all that being said, we are going to move away from the Titans. We're going to get into some Preds talk. But starting up next hour, there is more controversy coming out of the University of Alabama's athletic department. Me and Nick are going to dive into that next. You are listening to Michelle and Junnie here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Music City will be rocking June 23rd through the 25th with a different sound, the sound of NASCAR.
Start your engine!
The Ally 400 is back at Nashville Superspeedway, and this year, it's a night race. NASCAR in Nashville. It's guitars and fast cars under the lights. Visit NashvilleSuperspeedway.com to get your tickets for the triple header weekend, including the Ally 400, Tennessee Lottery 250, and the Rackley Roofing 200 today.
Did you know that more than 4,000 children in Nashville are experiencing homelessness right now? And across Middle Tennessee, that number grows to more than 9,000. Hi, I'm Jamie with Souls for Souls, a global nonprofit based right here in Nashville, and we're on a mission to provide these kids with a brand new pair of athletic shoes through our For Every Kid program. Because we know that something as simple as a pair of shoes can change a child's future. Students who receive these new shoes tell us things like, I can't believe these shoes are mine. I finally have something new of my own and don't feel left out. And my feet feel like they can breathe. We're joining forces with our friends here at 102.5 The Game for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament to help provide new shoes to kids across Nashville. It's all happening June 7th at the Hermitage Golf Course. Come join us for an afternoon of fellowship and fun, all in support of a great cause. Go to thegamenashville.com for more information and to register.
Celebrating mothers everywhere. Electronic Express has what you need to make this the best Mother's Day yet. Spoil mom with brands like Samsung, Sony, LG, Breville, Jura, and more. We've also got huge savings in every department. 4K TVs, computers, housewares, smart home, and more. Plus, save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 3 years free financing. Shop in-store or online. Get more for mom at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Buffalo Bills Center of the West in Cody, Wyoming welcomes you as you enter Yellowstone Park's east entrance. 5 museums in one, including a wonderful Plains Indian Museum. Welcome to the West. Buffalo Bills Center of the West, Cody, Wyoming.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
A gutty performance. Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Discussing the big sports stories of the weekend. This is Michelle and Junie. With Michelle Knezovic and Junnie Riddle. Presented by Superbook Sports on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hour number 2 of Michelle and Junie. Nick Keyser filling in for Michelle Knezovic, Miss Continental USA, traveling all over the place. But you can watch us streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook live every day. And our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook Sports. Nick, we teased it before the break, some big news coming out about the Alabama athletic program. Just when you think it couldn't get worse after the basketball season with Nate Oates and company, we switch over to the baseball team.
And their PR department, by the way, is getting their money right now.
Oh yeah. They better have a good representative there, because Brad Bohannon, head coach of Alabama baseball, was fired in a gambling scandal. Mm-hmm. Another gambling scandal, and not one that's in professional sports, but in the collegiate sports world now. So very odd, very odd here. So basically what happened is, and I'm reading from the TuscaloosaNews.com here, and what had happened is that a pitcher, Alabama starting pitcher Luke Holman, was a late scratch, according to the UA game notes, and Hagen Banks replaced him. Bohannon was quoted in the game notes saying that Banks found out an hour before the game that he was going to start. Now, the allegation is that there was a major bet that was placed on the Alabama-LSU game, where LSU was heavy favorites because they're the number one team in the nation, that a former high school coach, and they didn't name where he's from, they didn't name his name, but apparently he got tipped off by Bohannon that he was going to be making this move that would affect the outcome of the game and put a significant sum of money. Now, I'm sure you've made some bets before. I've made some bets before. I'm not much of a betting man on SEC baseball. So the state of Ohio flagged this down as like an outlying bet and just completely shut down the opportunity to be able to bet on the game. And a few states followed. DraftKings, FanDuel, all the big sports books just cut it out.
Yeah, and good on their part too, because that was some shady business going on up there. So, but look, and I think it was, they're playing Vanderbilt. It was kind of funny because we actually had Tim Corbin on our show a couple of days prior to all of this going down, and they had that midweek matchup, I think, this week against Georgia State, and then now Vanderbilt is down there taking on Vanderbilt currently. I'm not sure what the series is. I know Vanderbilt took game one, but for the people at home listening that didn't hear anything, Jason Jackson is their new interim coach, and I know we've got this piece of audio ready, but I know that Jason Jackson was actually asked about it afterwards. And here's what he had to say.
What was your pregame message to the team? I just kind of told them business as usual, man. You guys have done a great job all year of taking care of business. You go out, you play your game, and that's what we're going to do tonight, right? Nothing changes. Everything that we want to accomplish is right here in front of us. You guys have been playing your tails off, and we're going to get out and play our tails off again tonight. And that was the basic message, and we didn't really say a whole lot.
And that's really, look, that is the best thing you can say given the situation that you're putting yourself into. But look, that's just, it's not a good feeling.
So we do need to preface this that none of the players on Alabama's roster were involved in this. So they're basically innocent bystanders in all of this. I just look at this completely, and it just kind of brings me back to the whole Pete Rose situation and how he kind of gambled on games. But the thing about Pete Rose is that this is speculated. This isn't facts.
Sure.
That he only bet on his teams to win. And he never bet on his teams to lose. And I think in this situation, the Alabama coach, Bohannon, tipped off, I guess it's a buddy of his or a coach relationship that he's had with somebody that, basically he was going to be making this move to, a lesser talented pitcher before the game against the number one team in the country.
Right.
And that's almost inciting somebody to bet against your team.
Well, and this pitcher, too, by the way, was first in the rotation and gets told an hour before the game, yeah, I'm not going to play you. Perfectly fine. Nothing changed. You're not playing.
Which, I mean, you got to think, mentally, being a pitcher is just as much, if not more mental than it is physical.
And the starter gets warm well before an hour.
Oh, yeah. So, and shout out to, Hagen Banks, coming in, and he actually had a really, really good game. They ended up losing 8-6, but it was much closer than what it was projected to be.
They came back late, yeah.
And so, with all that being said, it's just, we knew that when sports gambling was, kind of legalized, what is it now, 25 plus states that's legalized in. It's about half.
Right.
It's about half the country that you can make sports betting. That it was going to start to enter into the sports world a little bit more. And we just saw this a few weeks ago with Jameson Williams getting a 6-game suspension for literally just putting a bet on the team's Wi-Fi for a different sport. Like, this is some serious stuff that's been going on with the sports betting and gambling. But to me, this has to be one of the worst stories that have come out, since the legalization of gambling has kind of spread across the states. The fact that you would tip off somebody that you're making a change before the game, basically throwing a game, is criminal. And it would not surprise me if Bohannon gets charged criminally for this and maybe serve some time, honestly.
I mean, he certainly could. And you cycle back to a couple weeks ago when we were talking about a very different scandal that was kind of going on between some NFL players. And we got into a spirited conversation about that because players need to know. If you're a player, you need to know. Or, look, I've told people they just need to not let players bet, period, just to keep it safe. Like, there needs to be a fine line between it. And if there's not, you need to draw a line in the sand somewhere.
Yeah.
Please, because that will clarify so much. And you don't get into all these, I can bet on this game because I don't play in this and it's not my sport. Doesn't matter. Like, look, you are dancing a fine line. I don't care what it is. If you play a pro sport, if you play a college sport, let's just not gamble on games. Like, if you're kind of sus about it, as the kids say, then just don't do it, please.
Yeah.
Just stay away.
And it's not like it's not like you can't gamble on other things. It's not like you can't go to Vegas and gamble in the casino or play some cards and stuff like that. So it doesn't take it completely off the table for you, but this is just starting to get to the point where it's really annoying, and I feel like something has to be done about it. And I don't know where, but the fact that basically this is the first major story that's come out about basically a guy telling somebody to bet against his team and giving out insider information. I just think this guy has to be made an example of if it comes out to be true, especially if it got flagged. I feel like it has to be a significant amount of money during all the circumstances. But after the Brandon Miller stuff, after some of the former, like Henry Ruggs coming from Alabama and then doing what he does, it's just been really, really bad for
and by the way, on the Ruggs front, I did see this just really quickly. He will be going before a trial formally to have his ruling now, and it's expected that he'll be in jail for 3 to 10 years.
Yeah. Deservingly so, based off the details of what happened in that DUI situation. So we'll keep you posted on that and all the details as they come out. Not a lot as of right now. But coming up next, we are going to get into the Nashville Predators. It is still up in the air on whether or not John Hines will be the coach for next season. Nick Keyser will give his thoughts on that. You're listening to Michelle and Junnie here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For every big pass,
Chase Elliott will pick up the stage 1 win.
Big wreck,
Joey Logano gets turned. He's hard into the inside wall.
and big win.
Kyle Busch has won here at the Talladega Super Speedway.
Catch every lap of NASCAR on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Family Leisure invites you to vacation at home with your family with a new spa, pool, patio furniture, or wood play gym this summer.
I really want a spa.
Family Leisure has 40 spas on display from 3 of the biggest brand names: Artesian, Best Spas, and American Select. Prices starting as low as $29.99.
What about above ground pools?
Family Leisure has hundreds of pools in stock and on sale. Guaranteed installation before Memorial Day, starting as low as $29.99. Installed.
Wow, that's great.
If you're looking at a spa, I want some new patio furniture. Family Leisure has patio furniture from all the big brand names like Hanneman, Woodard, Jensen, and Apricity. There's more than 100 sets on display to choose from with free delivery.
That sounds good to me too. And maybe a new Sabre infrared grill to go with it.
We really should look at the wood play gym for the kids. Family Leisure has the Diamond Point swing set on sale at only $24.99 installed. It's Family Leisure's vacation at home sale going on now at both huge locations, Franklin and Antioch.
Michelle Knezovic here for Superbook Sports. Baseball is back and the push for the postseason is on for hockey and hoops. Make it all count this spring with Superbook Sports. Superbook Sports is the best wagering app around with a direct line to experienced bookmakers behind the counter in the one and only Superbook in Las Vegas. Plus, get a $250 bonus when you sign up, deposit, and wager all in the same day. Don't let spring pass you by without winning some money with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
You don't have just an ordinary mom in your life. She's the best. Her work never stops. Her sacrifices are many. Her love is unfailing. This Mother's Day, Genesis Diamonds invites you to join us in celebrating and appreciating the mothers in our lives. Stop in and let one of our trusted advisors help you find a special, meaningful gift. Layering necklaces, stackable rings, eternity bands, pearls, elegant diamond pendants, and of course, stunning diamond earrings. Great Mother's Day ideas for any budget. There's no doubt we love Mom, but sometimes a little extra appreciation goes a long way as a thank you for helping us through challenges, making sacrifices, and always putting the family first. So whether it's her first Mother's Day or her 60th, Mom deserves a gift that's anything but ordinary. And at Genesis, that's our specialty. Exquisite rings, earrings, bands, bracelets, heirloom pieces. Timeless gifts of jewelry that she can enjoy and cherish for decades to come, and always be reminded of how special she is to the family. Genesis Diamonds, online at genesisdiamonds.net.
Bert Kreischer presents Tops Off World Tour.
I look at my dad, I go, hey dad, maybe we should sit down. I don't think your owl's out tonight. 30 seconds later, whoo, right on top of it we hear, whoo. My oldest daughter goes, Dad, look across the lake at the old man on his dock. There's another drunk, blind old white man just,
Bert Kreischer live on stage, Friday, November 17th, Bridgestone Arena. Get tickets at Ticketmaster.com.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025thegame and on Instagram at 1025thegame Nashville.
Hey!
Oh yeah, and like us on Facebook too. This is Michelle and Junnie.
Really? That's fantastic.
Presented by Superbook Sports on 1025 and 1063 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Elliot, too, you brought this point up, which I think is worth elaborating on once again for those that are just wondering now that we are, 4 weeks later from right at the end of the season. You said going into the last year of your contract, the history would show that part of it is probably going to need to be addressed, right?
Yes. In most cases, I will say this, not all, but most, teams don't like coaches going into the last year of their deal. They think it, and I know coaches feel very strongly about this, they feel it undermines their credibility in the locker room. Now, I don't know if John Hines feels that way. I don't know if the Predators feel that way, but I do know that there's, for example, one of the reasons I think that Lou Lamoriello made the coaching change in New York with Barry Trotz was at the time he wasn't sure it was the right move to extend Trotz, and he didn't think that was the way. He generally doesn't feel that's the way to run your team. So not every team feels that way, but I know a lot of teams do, and coaches definitely feel that.
That was Elliot Friedman on Caroline Willie and D. Mays. He appears every Thursday at 1 o'clock if you want to tune into all of his NHL insight. But he was talking about John Hines going into this year on his final year of his contract and how normally NHL coaches want an extension going into their final season because it feels like it undermines them in the locker room, which makes sense. Because if the players are in the locker room and you got a guy that's kind of preaching to you, trying to direct you and tell you what you're doing, and the players aren't confident that that guy is going to be at the helm the following season, sometimes his message isn't always going to be received as it would if they knew that he was going to be there for years to come. So with that being said, with all the speculation about John Hines, the ups and downs of his tenure here in Nashville. This is, and also not to mention Barry Trotz coming in as the new GM taking over for David Poile. He didn't commit to John Hines in the end of season press conference. He says we still need to evaluate. So, Nick, you cover this team religiously. What is your vibe from Barry Trotz, and what do you think this organization will do and should do with John Hines?
Look, John Hines has done about as much as Peter Laviolette did in the same time frame that they've been coaches for the last couple of seasons. Peter Laviolette does not have a job anymore. He got fired not that long ago. It's been about a month or so. And the Predators let him go because they needed a different direction, a different voice, because Peter is a seasoned coach where if things don't work out and at some point it's the right time to pull the plug, you got to pull that plug. For the Predators, I think that's the same approach that you have to have if you're Barry Trotz. Now, David Poile, he does not like changing coaches. He's only had about 6 coaches. Now, he's retiring, and some people forget that he's retiring, by the way, so please remember that. I've had several people comment on stories this week I've written about, I'm done with David Poile. He's retiring. Like, let it go. So I think the best move for Barry, and I think he said it very well at the press conference, John's under contract. We're going to assess everybody, and we're going to take it one person at a time, which if you're Barry Trotz and you know his personality, which I hope to get to know him more soon, and he'd be a great guy to get more in touch with. But, you know, I think the relationship that he has with people, you know, even talking to Chase and Willie and a couple other people I know that have met Barry, they know that his temperament, he's always easygoing. He's going to tell you straight. He's going to tell you things, and he's going to do a really good job with talking his way around things, which I think he's done good at so far, especially when you've been asked about a coach with him sitting right next to you. And that's a very tough thing to say in front of your coach, but John's aware, and you're not comfortable if you're him. Nobody should be comfortable, like Elliott has said in previous visits, when the Predators were still playing in the regular season. And look, there are 5 jobs open in the NHL right now. There are quite a few openings. You don't usually see 5 during the offseason. So when you've got a coaching staff that hasn't changed a lot in its history, fans really want to change. Because like I've mentioned, Poile's going out the door, and no one wants anything to do with David Poile. Everybody's high on Carl Taylor, who's been coaching the Milwaukee Admirals for the last few years. And it's completely warranted to have those feelings if you're a Predators fan, because we've gone to the finals one time as an organization here in Nashville. And if you look at the work that some people have done since they left, you know, Poile said, we lent out Barry Trotz to go win the Stanley Cup, and then now he's back. And Barry wants a party. We have a promo here that plays that, you know, what a party would really be like in Nashville, what that would be amazing. And so, look, if you're John Hines, I think obviously you don't feel safe, Junnie, but at the end of the day, when it comes down to the future, John's locked in for as long as Barry wants him to be this year. Will Barry make a decision this offseason and kind of shock us? He could. He very well could. The read on Nashville is very strange right now because for the first time really in franchise history, I mean, we've had Poile here for so long, and it is really the first time in franchise history we don't know what an offseason may look like based on someone's previous behaviors.
I look at it this way. I look at in 2020, you know, they had the really disappointing loss in the bubble to the Arizona Coyotes. And then the following year, they came out super slow in 21. And they caught fire. They made the playoffs. They made a series out of it with Carolina. And they made something out of it. And then, you know, they go out and they make the additions they do, getting Nino Niederreiter and Ryan McDonough, adding to that roster, hopefully, you know, keeping the momentum that they had at the end of the year of 21. They just flat out didn't. Mm-hmm. And then the trade deadline comes, and they got rid of all the players that they did. And the injuries that happened with Forsberg and Yossi and Johansson and Parson, all these guys. And then these young guys come in, and then all of a sudden this team just steps up and goes on the winning streak that they did. And they were right there at the very end.
Mm-hmm.
And I see this as it's always a tale of two halves of the season with John Hines.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like in order for me, as somebody who, watches and covers this team, I need to see some level of consistency throughout a season. I get it. Go through a rough patch. Like, every team is going to hit a part of the season to where, it's going to look really bad and a lot of questions are going to surface. But, the good teams get out of it and then the bad teams just kind of, stay put and kind of go on that losing trajectory. So with John Hines, it's just so hard because it's like he'll start the season really great and then it ends bad or vice versa. And I just want to see some level of consistency with this. And I think that if these young guys came in and they, just called it a day and didn't really fight for the playoffs at the end of the year and just rolled over, then I think he would have gotten fired. But I think as well as this team has done, this gave Barry Trotz an evaluation period to look at this and see what he has with this coach and if he can be the coach of the future.
Right, and I think that's the biggest question for him. I don't think the biggest question for him is who's appealing in free agency? Who can I trade with? How can I move up in the draft maybe? Which, by the way, I think Barry would be very smart to move up in this year's draft if he does. So as that develops, I'm going to try to figure more out in terms of would they be interested in that. I think that they could be because this is a big draft class. Anyway, now one name that's been thrown out by Adam Vingan from formerly The Athletic in town. Everybody loved reading his work, and it's been thrown out there, not just by him, but by some other people, that Spencer Carberry, who's an assistant with the Toronto Maple Leafs, is an appealing option. And I did a little more just background on who this guy is. And so I've got pulled up. He was in the ECHL, the East Coast Hockey League, for quite some time, from 2010 all the way until 2016. Then he works his way into the Ontario Hockey League for a year. He tears it up there with the Saginaw Spirit. He works his way into the AHL. He's with Providence Bruins. Then he's with the Hershey Bears. And now he's been with the Maple Leafs the last couple of seasons. And so this guy is on the way up. I mean, he's going to get a job at some point, and he's had a lot of success on the way. So there's one right now that is appealing if that does come up. If Barry is trying to figure out who could fit in well with this team, that's an attractive thing for him because, look, Barry was given a shot to be a coach. He was a scout for a very long time. He was on staff under David Poile as a scout in Washington a long time ago. Then Barry does the exact same thing as Carberry does, essentially, and he's going through the ranks. He's rising up, albeit he's in the NHL now, but not as a head coach. So, let's say Toronto loses in this round and there's some wind about Carberry, then I would expect there to be conversation around, okay, if the Predators moved on from Hines, would he be appealing? And so I'm not saying that's going to happen. It's an idea, pure speculation right now, but I'm sure there are other coaches too in Barry's mind that he has that if one day I have to go to this guy, I'm sure he is prepared for that. Barry is thinking ahead now. He's been doing a very good job at that. But ultimately, we're on a weird scale where we've not ever seen this with the Predators. You can't rule it out, but at the same time, we don't know. None of us know whether it's a fan, a media member. We just do not know right now what direction this could go in, Junnie.
I personally think that he's going to stay the head coach. I think what happened at the end of the season is going to save him, but I think he's going to be on a very short leash. And if this team does not come out and at least perform to expectation, and again, we got to see what happens in the offseason, but if they don't show up, I could definitely see a coaching move being made in next season. So
absolutely,
we will keep an eye on that. But the Milwaukee Admirals win last night against the Manitoba Moose 5-3 to force a Game 5 in the semifinals of the AHL playoffs. We are going to get into that and how some of those young prospects that stepped up for the Preds at the end of the season are doing. Nick Keyser and I will dive into that next. You are listening to Michelle and Junnie here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Every day we are live and local.
Most people picked them to make the playoffs before the season even started.
And your source for Nashville sports.
He can still wait for 5 more games before he makes that decision.
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Imagine her delight when she unwraps a luxurious spa day from A Moment's Peace, the newly remodeled day spa and salon in Cool Springs. Time is running short, but whether you spend a little or go lavish, you can take comfort that your gift will be treasured, your love on display and a smile on her face. Give affordable luxury from A Moment's Peace for mums, dads, and grads in Cool Springs across I-65 from Galleria Mall at the intersection of Carruthers Parkway and Bakersbridge Avenue. Call 224-0770 or click online anytime at momentspeace.com.
Hey, it's John Tesh. You know why insurance companies use all those cute and funny characters? To distract you from realizing you're only getting one option. If you want to compare prices, you're forced to visit multiple websites just to get one quote at a time. But not with Xander Insurance, because they work for you. Xander is a broker that shops dozens of top companies to find the best competitive rates for the coverage you need, and they keep reviewing your policy every year to make sure you're getting the best value. They're always available to answer questions, handle problems, and make sure that when it comes to insurance, your life is simple and hassle-free. You even have direct access to their senior management team. If your current company or agent doesn't do this much for you, let Xander Insurance help. Compare rates online at Xander.com or call 800-356-1780 for that personal touch. When Xander works for you, you're going to see the difference. Again, that's 800-356-1780. 1780, or you can visit Xander.com with no characters needed.
Get in on the conversation at 615-737-1025. The Game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com.
She would do anything for you. She's your biggest fan. She's your mom. And mom turned upside down spells wow. So give her a day full of wows this Mother's Day, starting with an incredible gift from the Diamond Cellar. Hi, it's Alex Johnson from the Diamond Cellar. From classic diamond jewelry to luxury pieces from our world-class designers, we have the perfect gifts for every mom, stepmom, or grandmother. Show her how much you care with something she really wants, but would never buy herself. Visit us at the Diamond Cellar in Green Hills. The possibilities are endless.
Tuning into the baseball game, monitoring the incoming storm, catching your favorite talk show. These are just a few of the reasons more than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio each month. And did you know AM radio is the backbone of the emergency alert system, keeping us safe in dangerous times? It's reliable, free, and public safety depends on it. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game has an all-star lineup Monday through Friday. Batting first at 6 a.m., it's Robbie and Rexroad.
Yeah, you take that. You take that. Take 80% of that.
Followed by Chase and Michelle at 9.
Couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
I need my caffeine so much.
Then it's Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace at 11.
Yep, green light, let's go.
You've got a lot of options.
He say, she say. And bringing it home at 2, Jared Stillman for Stillman and Company.
That guy will be a good coach.
We are Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. This is Michelle and Junnie.
Well, thank you so much.
Presented by Superbook Sports on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Now, one little nugget that I was kind of thinking about, and I love Nick Keyser to death, but he is obsessed, and I mean that. I do love you, Nick, but he is obsessed with the Milwaukee Admirals. And apparently they're in the playoffs. Good for them. As I have always said with this stuff, do Preds prospects on your own time. They draft the guy. Everybody tells me that guy's going to be good. The guy gets called up. He's never any good. And then they draft the guy. They never talk about him. And then they call him up, and then he's good. So basically, unless the Predators find a way to end up with Connor Bedard, and I believe, Ian, correct me if I'm wrong, but they are absolutely out of the lottery, right?
Correct.
That was Jared Stillman yesterday on Friday, shouting out the Milwaukee Admirals. He doesn't do that a lot. He's kind of just sticks to the Preds.
Or talk about the hockey team.
Yeah, so he shouted you out because I don't think anybody kind of dives into the Milwaukee Admirals like you and really gets into it. But you're a hockey guy. Like, you played hockey. You grew up with the sport. You grew up here, and you get into that. Like, I feel like the way I am about football is the way you are about hockey.
Exactly.
And that's special. But I heard that yesterday, and I immediately went to Fraser this morning. I was like, we have got to play that audio from Jared Stillman to open up this segment because he wants to do a segment on the Milwaukee Admirals.
Jared, thank you so much. If you're listening, it's Saturday morning, maybe not. But look, I think it's completely warranted that if we have any coverage during the offseason, that we do touch on the Preds players that were sent down to at least do something during the summertime. And tonight is a big game for them. And last night, they had to basically, look, they got ahead early. And in the second period, I thought they played fine. Third period comes around, 2 goals in about 5 minutes. And when you have that many goals go in the back of your net that quick, you got to stop and do something. So Carl Taylor calls a timeout, says, hey, we need to just play our game, guys. So pretty simple enough, which is exactly what Carl Taylor said after they won the game. He's like, it's pretty simple. We just prepare for game, like a Russian man, like just so automated. But like, look, the Admirals have not seen themselves in this spot too often to win a playoff series. Now, they did beat the Moose last year in the first round. But look, when you have young guys like a Joachim Kimmel and a Luca Evangelista, and yes, Kiefer Sherwood, who's not by any means a high-end prospect, but played for the Preds, scored the first and last goals of the season. Look, when you have guys stepping up that are young, you got to be excited as a fan base. Now, from my point of view, I'm paying attention to them because they could be assets for the team moving forward. Now, Kiefer Sherwood signed a 1-year deal. He'll just be a depth piece just like he was this year going into next season. He scored a great backhand goal last night, but I'm more encouraged by what Joachim Kimmel did. He lined up in the left circle last night on the power play and ripped one home, much like you would see an Alex Ovechkin or Austin Matthews do. So, look, the Preds need these guys to play well so they can come up here and play. So if you want the development to go well, you need it to go well down there too.
I'm looking at, the lineups from last night, and it just blows me away how many of these guys were on there. I mean, Spencer Stastny, Luke Evangelista, Phil Tomasino, Zach Sanford, who had a goal last night, Jordan Gross,
who leads the team in points,
Igor Afanasiev, Mark Jankowski, Kiefer Sherwood. All these guys stepped up and filled a role for the Preds at one point this season. And to see them kind of go back down and they're competing at a high level, it's a Game 5 and it's a series of 5 games in the AHL playoffs. It's a big game for these guys tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I was asking you because, me, like, I'm familiar with the Preds. I followed the Preds for, like 7 years now, ever since I went into college at Western, being with a lot of Preds fans. I've followed the team for a while, but to sit here and say that, I followed the Milwaukee Admirals, I would be lying to you. And so I wanted to know the significance of this and all these guys getting these big game experiences in the Preds and how that kind of translates when they go back down and what it means for the AHL team, the minor league affiliate of the Preds, to have success in the playoffs. Like, what does that do for these guys getting this kind of experience, playing in the AHL playoffs, and how that translates to the NHL?
Well, one thing to keep in mind is when you have a coach like Carl Taylor who operates under the same system as the Nashville Predators do, essentially, and I think that's always been the goal in mind, regardless of who the head coach is for Nashville. They want to make sure that they play the same tempo, that they look for the same plays. So when you have guys thriving under that, it makes a whole lot more sense to have them play in the NHL, because I'll just give you a good example. So you've got a guy like, back in the day, I'll throw out Jordan Tutu, okay? The guy that fought all the time and worked his way up to the NHL, literally fought with his knuckles to get up here. And
It's a great way to do it.
Probably scored a little bit and did well with them. Not going to bother going back to look at what Tutu did because eventually, when he got up here, he had a role. He played the bottom 6 on the 3rd and 4th line, and he still fought. He still scored from time to time. Yes, he did. Not a lot. But look, even a Cole Schneider, who is the Admirals captain, he is a guy that, look, he knows his role, and he knows that he's here to lead the team and help them get to their next level. He's not an NHL player. He's going to stay there for the rest of his entire career. If he earns a call-up, great. If he plays a few games, great for him. More importantly, because I talked to him not that long ago, a few weeks ago, before they started the playoff series, and I asked him, what's it like to lead these guys? And that's what he told me. He said, I'm here to help these guys get the extra step in their game and the confidence to help get them to Nashville to keep them there longer. And he's done exactly that. Cody Glass spent all last season before this one in Milwaukee. Philip Tomasino just did the same thing, came back up, played really well.
Tommy Novak. I mean,
Tommy Novak is another one.
He came up for, what was it, like a 17-game span in the 2021 campaign.
And then played 46 games this year.
Yeah.
And was point per game, basically.
Yeah, I mean, he was right there to be a point-per-game player. And I would say that he's going to have a significant role. So I think it's really good, seeing guys like that, like a Cody Glass, like a Tommy Novak. Juuso Parson is another one that they slowly get their opportunities in the NHL playing with the Preds. You send them back down. They get a taste of what it feels like, and then they develop and they get some time down there and they grow a little bit more. And they're like, you know what? Well, I jumped up here and I felt like this would work and it didn't. I'm gonna go back down to Milwaukee and I'm gonna work on this. And I saw that with Tomasino because I watched Tomasino last year and I've just felt like the way he moved, the confidence that he played with when he came up and stepped up for the Preds this year was a lot better. Playing on the line one, getting a lot of shots on goal, creating scoring opportunities was significant. And I think that he's going to be a presence for this team. And I think that can kind of be said for a guy like a Luke Evangelista this year. He came up. He had some flashes. He had that really, really good game. I can't remember where it was. It was one of those Canadian games. It might have been
I believe he
Montreal, or was it Toronto? Or
no, I think that was the game he played against the Canucks. I want to say maybe. Okay, I have to go back and look.
The 4-point game in the second period. The kid shows flashes of a lot of promise. Mm-hmm. It just wasn't the consistency, and that's what we saw with Tomasino.
He's a small kid too.
Yes, he needs to get some size, and I think that's what a lot of these younger guys up in Milwaukee need to do. So it'll be really, really interesting to see how that goes. Which players are going to end up being brought up for the roster on day one? Which guys are going to kind of sit and ferment in Milwaukee to kind of really enhance their skills, and maybe they can get brought up in the middle of next season.
And the shameless plug.
This team.
The shameless plug, please go over to Nashville Hockey Now. We've just launched it this week. Michael Gallagher and I are going to be doing Nashville Predators coverage, so keep it locked there. But, yeah, I'm very curious to see who can challenge at training camp. There are even some prospects that will be coming up through the Pred system, Junnie. So looking forward to seeing who challenges this fall.
Good stuff, Nick Keyser. Always in touch with the Preds and their prospects. He is watching every single Milwaukee Admirals game, which I don't know. I can't do that personally, but the fact that you do it and you give such excellent coverage is absolutely amazing. But we're going to be wrapping up our show coming up next, getting into our best bets of the weekend, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, and Kentucky Derby. You're listening to Michelle and Junnie here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
The sports talk doesn't end on Friday. Join Michelle Knezovic and Junnie Riddle for Michelle and Junnie.
As long as he wants to coach there, he will be able to coach there.
I think that really did save the hope of this team.
Michelle and Junnie, presented by Superbook Sports, every Saturday morning at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Family Leisure invites you to vacation at home with a new spa, pool, patio furniture, or wood play gym this summer.
I really want a spa.
40 spas on display from Artesian, Best Spas, and American Select.
Prices starting as low as $29.99.
Family Leisure has over 100 sets of patio furniture with free delivery.
That sounds good to me, too.
We should really look at the wood play gyms for the kids. Family Leisure has the Diamond Point swing set on sale at only $24.99 installed. Family Leisure's vacation at home sale in Franklin and Antioch.
Hi, I'm Jamie with Souls for Souls, a global nonprofit based in Nashville that provides shoes and clothing to people across the world. We're joining forces with 1025 The Game for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament on June 7th at the Hermitage Golf Course. A portion of the proceeds from the tournament will provide new shoes to children experiencing homelessness right here in Nashville. I hope you'll join us for an afternoon of fellowship and fun, all in support of a great cause. Go to thegamenashville.com for more information and to register.
You don't have just an ordinary mom in your life. She's the best. Her work never stops. Her sacrifices are many. Her love is unfailing. This Mother's Day, Genesis Diamonds invites you to join us in celebrating and appreciating the mothers in our lives. Stop in and let one of our trusted advisors help you find a special, meaningful gift. Layering necklaces, stackable rings, eternity bands, pearls, elegant diamond pendants, and of course, stunning diamond earrings. Great Mother's Day ideas for any budget. There's no doubt we love Mom, but sometimes a little extra appreciation goes a long way as a thank you for helping us through challenges, making sacrifices, and always putting the family first. So whether it's her first Mother's Day or her 60th, Mom deserves a gift that's anything but ordinary. And at Genesis, that's our specialty. Exquisite rings, earrings, bands, bracelets, heirloom pieces. Timeless gifts of jewelry that she can enjoy and cherish for decades to come, and always be reminded of how special she is to the family. Genesis Diamonds, online at genesisdiamonds.net.
Nashville Sounds Baseball lives on 94.9 The Fan. Catch every pitch.
Swing and a miss, strike three.
Every hit.
That's a base hit.
Every run.
Looking up, it's gone.
On your home for Sounds Baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
This is Michelle and Junie.
Really? That's fantastic.
Presented by Superbook Sports on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Here comes the money.
Here we go.
Money talk. Here comes the money.
Last segment of the day. Here comes the money. Shout out Shane McMahon for this excellent song, for this betting segment that we do every single week. We're going to run in through the NBA games that are going on tonight, the NHL game that is happening tonight, and also the Kentucky Derby. So starting off, New York Knicks are playing the Miami Heat down in Miami. The series is tied up 1-1. The Heat are 4-point favorites. And fellas, just to announce, I looked it up. Jimmy Butler is looking like he is more likely to play than not. So keep that in mind. But with that being said, I'm going to kick it off, and I am taking the Heat -4. If Jimmy Butler is playing, no way they lose in their first game in Miami, especially the way they played Madison Square Garden that game one when he was playing.
Okay, I will also go Heat, and I will go, let's see, I'm going to look at a player prop here super quick, because if he does play Jimmy Butler, as a lot of people have been calling him here lately, I do think he gets over 26.5 points tonight.
I would take that in a heartbeat as well.
I will take the Heat.
Frazier.
I'm a big Knicks fan, unfortunately, but I will be taking the Heat in this. I'll be taking player prop parlay of Jimmy Butler over 35 with 2 threes.
Ooh.
That is plus 1,300. You put $10 on it when you won 36.
Absolutely. Okay, so our second game of the night and probably the series of the entire playoffs. We got another 1-1 series. Golden State Warriors are heading to Los Angeles to take on LeBron and the Lakers. The Lakers are 3-point favorites. I like the Lakers tonight. I think LeBron got off to a hot start against the Warriors in Game 2 and fell off. Anthony Davis had a horrible game in Game 2. I think they bounce back at home, and I think they take a 2-1 lead to really try and make this series competitive.
Give me the sharpshooter from Davidson, Steph Curry, taking down the Lakers tonight. I think if he's on fire with Klay Thompson and company, I think they will take this. So I would love to see them take Game 3.
All right. We got one Lakers, one Warriors. Frazier.
Yeah. This seems like a game where the I'm going to go with the Lakers. I'm just going to go with it. Lakers money line and D'Angelo Russell 25 points, and that's plus 700.
Listen, I'm in the same boat. I think the Lakers have to win this game tonight in order to just stay in this series. I thought it was crucial that they got the Game 1 victory. I think, kind of flashback to LeBron and the Cavs, Game 1 against the Warriors when he dropped 50 points. I think that was 2018. It was the whole J.R. Smith didn't know how many timeouts or
I think you're
the
right.
clock situation. And LeBron was so pivotal about beating the Warriors in Game 1 because it would prolong the series. I think the Game 1 that they beat the Warriors in the Chase Center was crucial, and I think tonight they're going to really do that. But ultimately, I got the Warriors. In this series.
Right.
But moving over to the NHL, the Vegas Golden Knights have a 1-0 lead in the series over the Edmonton Oilers. I like the Oilers in tonight's game. I think the Oilers end up winning this series. I could see them winning this and then, getting the next two in Edmonton as well. So give me Connor McDavid and Draisaitl to take Game 2 against the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah, I think that's pretty easy to do, obviously. But I will say I think tonight will be more of a challenge for the Golden Knights to try to get ahead, but I don't think they're going to be able to do it. I think that they'll just be not quite to par with how powerful the Oilers are on offense.
And we saw a super high scoring game as well. The over-under line is 6.5.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to take the under in this game.
I would probably take the under. I think that's a good move, but just remember that Draisaitl just had a 4-point game or 4-goal game the other night.
Meaning he's bound to not do it again.
He's bound to not do it again, apparently, but he could also. He's just that good. But that also means McDavid's got to get in the mix tonight, too. So I would expect a big game from the Oilers this evening. Fraser, what say you about this hockey team?
If I have to give a pick, I'm curious. Will McDavid and Draisaitl be on the same line?
They typically they do pair them off at times, but I would say the majority of the time
it's kind of split.
Yeah. But they do play on the power play together. So if they get power play opportunities, because you and I know both from doing Preds broadcast this year.
Oh, yeah.
They tear it up on the power play. So.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I'll go with Edmonton on the money line. It's just almost even money. I like Leon Draisaitl to get 4 shots on goal. That's plus 100. Take him to get 5 is plus 255.
Okay.
All right. I like that. Okay, so we're all going with Edmonton. Now, for the biggest sporting event of the weekend. It is the Kentucky Derby. And if you were listening to the show in the first hour, I told you to lay the money on Tapit Trice. I have a whole history. I'm foreseeing it. The cards are aligned for this guy, and especially since the favorite going into today is not in the race, had to drop out because of a foot injury, which is kind of crazy to say about a horse, but they're just like us. If they can't compete because of injury, they can't compete. So I am taking Tapit Trice to win the Kentucky Derby as the new favorite after Forte was eliminated this weekend.
Okay, so Junnie, you may not like this at all, but look, I used to go to a party every year at one of my parents' friends' house.
Okay.
And so they would give us, I believe we would make $5 to $10 bets because we were kids growing up doing this. And so obviously if you won, you hit your pot, and it was quite a bit of money. It was like extra birthday money basically, which I never won, but that's fine. It's aside from the point as a kid. You grow up, you have fun, you get to watch these events, you get to eat some good food. Mm-hmm. Derby pie, obviously, on Derby Day is one of my favorite things.
Hold on. You've had Derby pie?
Oh, yeah.
You're the first person from Nashville that has ever told me
and
that
I
they've
love
had Derby
it.
Pie. It is the best pie that you can possibly ever eat.
That and chess pie, I think, are some of my favorites. I have a pie I like personally that I make that's pretty good. But
okay, flex your pie.
But I will say I do like to pick horses kind of by their name, but also by good odds too. Okay. I think Reincarnate 13-1. I think that's an interesting one. I like the name. It gives me some badass name. So I'm like, okay, I like that. 13-1 odds.
Lucky number 7.
Right. So I thought that was appealing to me when I looked at the odds, so I'll go Reincarnate.
Wait, so Reincarnate, you said the odds were what again?
I've got 13-1.
I'm looking at CBS Sports right now, and maybe this is just an old article, like
This
from a
was
few days ago?
updated at 9:12 Eastern time.
Yes, I have 13-1 as well.
Really?
Okay.
So
Yes.
CBS Sports really botched this because I'm seeing Reincarnate getting
I'm on
50-1
CBS.
odds.
I'm
So
on-
CBS Sports, if you're listening,
On the official Kentucky Derby website.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, okay. Well, then I agree with the official Kentucky Derby website. Now, Frazier.
Yes.
Frazier. Who is your horse that you think is going to win this year's Kentucky
I have to give a quick shout out to my English teacher in high school, Mr. Kent. He always did these like funny races at the end of class. He had an old record player, and the horse was Avani White. That was my go-to horse.
Okay.
There's no Avani White on the list, obviously, but if I had to give something that's a flamboyant name, give me King's Barn, 10-1. I'm all
Okay.
about it. King's Barn.
And also,
Barn.
the purse for today's win is $3 million.
Really?
Yeah. 3 million big ones.
$3 million. Listen, the Kentucky Derby is awesome. I hope people actually watch. I've had a history of going. It is a blast. If you've never been, take the time to go up to Louisville. It's a 2.5-hour trip. Get up there and go and check it out. But before we end, okay, Frazier has had such a hot streak with these NSC parlays. It is over a 50% chance that it will hit. And a lot of times for like a $10 bet, you can win well over $100. So for our audience that does not watch the MLS, that does not watch Nashville SC, if you want to win some money this Saturday, tune into Nick. Nick, what is your parlay as the NSC host, the Chicago Fire at Geodis Park tonight?
Yes, it will be an action-packed game. Obviously, Chicago Fire is not the best offensively. Recently, Nashville SC has been a very counterattack styled team. They've had a lot of speed up top. They transition the ball well. They spread it out. Hani likes to drop into the midfield a little bit. Last time, I think Hani played against Chicago. He had a hat trick in the first half, so that's impressive. If I had to do anything, it's Nashville SC money line. It's Hani Mukhtar to score a goal, possibly two, if you want to sprinkle a little extra, and then for them to win the corner matchup. And you could take the spread of that. I'm pretty sure it's 3. I'll have to double-check on that.
That corner matchup, you hit every week, I feel like.
You just have to – for me, it's just knowing the game and understanding how each team kind of spreads out the game of play and how they, just dissect it. Like if Nashville SC is going to be more counterattacking than the opposing team that's more defensive style of the formation, then that's kind of how you dissect it. So, but yeah, corner spreads are always the money.
Fellas, great stuff. We got our bets in for tonight's NBA, NHL, Derby, and we even got a Nashville SC parlay that will win you some cash. Guys, thank you all for tuning in to the show. This has been Michelle and Junnie here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Every Wednesday at 8:30. Join Robbie and Rex Road for The Choice is Yours.